Hey, hey.
It's so early.
It's so early.
I can't even say that because it's not as early for me as it is for you guys.
Yeah, you got an extra hour on us.
Yeah, I needed it.
We are all in the U.S. If everyone joining could not tell, we are all in the U.S. We're all Americans. That's why we're so excited for the game, and that's why we're so tired for the game. But here we are, and we're going to have a good time, and we're going to watch some great soccer, hopefully.
We made it. Yeah, hopefully. That's what we thought on honestly, I'm so tired. I don't even know what day the games were. Wednesday? Yeah, that's what we thought on Wednesday, and it wasn't too great. So hoping for a good showing.
Sarah, did you watch that game? Were you up and at 'em at that time?
I was up for it, and I will say the game started at 4:30 my time. I set my alarm for 4:15, and then had a lovely dream about how I was up and watching the game, and then I woke up at 4:45 and was like, "Oh, damn it!" But I caught the whole game with the exception of the first 15 minutes. It was wild. Within the first 2 minutes of watching the game, I was like, "Oh, this isn't what I was expecting," and then it just kept going downhill from there.
So they really got dominated from the start against Sweden, because I
really
watched
did.
the highlights, but then catch the full game, to be honest.
It was a full domination. Like, the way I would describe it was that Sweden basically did to us what we usually do to everybody else. It was hard to watch, but we deserved it. We didn't play well. This is a new interesting lineup too for this game. Have you guys seen the lineup?
I did see the lineup, and they're showing it now. So does Christen Press? Does she usually come off the bench? That's not something that?
So previous to this past year. Oh, I love this.
Let's take a look at the lineup. How does this view look, Ice? You might need to edit the view we got here because I can only see the lineup on my screen. So if there's one of those options on the bottom, it looks better. Please go ahead and do it with us three.
No, yeah, it looks good.
I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, keep talking about the lineup. Just figured I'd throw it up there for everyone else.
Christen Press, previous to this year, was coming off the bench because you had Megan Rapinoe and Tobin Heath starting on the outsides. But with Tobin Heath's injury this past year and Megan Rapinoe being pretty in and out during 2020 of all of COVID, Christen Press basically earned her spot in the starting lineup. She started last game. This Olympics, this entire tournament, I think is going to be different for the U.S. in terms of there isn't going to be a set lineup that starts every game. You're going to see a different one every single game. And that's what we're seeing here. I mean, Tierna Davidson's getting the start at center back instead of Becky Sauerbrunn, who's the captain, long-standing, just tried and true center back for this team. We're off to the races, you guys.
The game is underway. We are joined here by 26 other lovely people. Whether you're a fan of Footy Fellas, the women's soccer show, neither, you have no idea. You just clicked on something random online and ended up here.
I hope it's that one.
Hopefully it's that one. You can meet us, hang out for the first time. We're super excited for this game. All big U.S. fans, obviously, so we'll be a bit biased, perhaps, but would love to hear who everyone is rooting for in the comments, and also give us your scoreline predictions. Let us know. Kayla's starting us off with that question from us, which we'll have to get to in a sec, but we want to hear from everyone else what your scoreline predictions are, and we'll keep talking through these opening lineups as the game has just kicked off, and we're 1 minute in.
Amazing. Julia, we cannot watch the game here, but you can watch the game on a different screen and follow along with us here, which is what we're doing. So starting lineups are going to be different every single game. That's kind of the beauty of a deep bench and playing in a major tournament. I think this game, Vlatko probably had slotted as playing a lot of players who weren't going to get minutes otherwise, because the game plan was most likely to get the win against Sweden and then rest a lot of people this game before the Australia game. I don't know if he's sticking to that plan and what version of the lineup we're getting here, but clearly, partially, that's what he's doing. You're seeing Emily Sonnet get the start. You're seeing Tierna Davidson get the start. Carly Lloyd's getting the start, which is, frankly, either was already set or she simply showed better than Alex Morgan in the first game. That's my personal opinion. But we will see a different lineup every single game. Excited to see Julie Ertz in the lineup since she only got 45 minutes last time. She's just not fully game fit, so she can't play the whole game. So we'll see what happens there.
Carly Lloyd has been so good for so long. And I remember after her performance in the final, I think like 4 years ago, or it might have been the World Cup final actually, where
2015.
Yeah, it was a World Cup final, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where she just completely showed out, and obviously everyone had heard of her before then, but she just kind of took her game to another level, and on the national stage also kind of took her name to another level.
Yeah.
See what I did there? And and since then she's just been so consistent for both the national team, in her, playing for other teams and other squads. And it's amazing that now in 2020 she continues to be one of the US's most consistent players, even as she gets older. So I love to see Carly Lloyd in the lineup up top.
Yeah, it's a total testament to her and how hard she works. I mean, frankly, in the Sweden game, I thought she was the person who looked like she had the most pep in her step, if you will. Like, she's the only one who didn't look very tired, and she's the oldest one on the field. She looks like she's playing like she's in her early 30s. And I think consistency is the hardest thing. And she brings the same thing every single game.
Love that. That's a great take. That's what the US needs right now. Go ahead, Ice.
Early on, first 3 minutes for me on my NBCOlympics.com stream. We're looking very good. We're pressuring high. I heard that we just got dominated in the Swedish game in terms of we looked a little lackluster. Looks like we're on the pedal, on the forefront today, right now, which is good.
I'm going to assume that was the game plan. It's usually the game plan to come out strong and high press. So I'm assuming after the Sweden game, it was even more so get that pedal to the metal. Yeah.
Ooh. Early chance off the wing. Cutting inside for Rose Lavelle. Just not enough. But yeah, we should dominate possession here. That's definitely the expectation. Let me remove this. Let's talk scoreline predictions. We want to hear everyone's scoreline prediction in the chat. Haven't been seeing enough of that. And let's see, how many US fans do we have and how many US hater fans do we have? Because if nothing else from the first game, we've learned just how many people want the U.S. to fail, which I understand. You want to see the
haters really came out of the woodworks there, didn't they? What are your guys' scoreline predictions for this?
I'm going to go big. I'm saying 4-0. I just think the USA, obviously we all know, didn't show up to that first game against Sweden, and now they know it's do or die, and I think they'll perform well today.
Just messing around with some different views here.
I love it.
Get all three of us next to each other. Let's see in the comments though. Do you think we'll throw it up there and give us scoreline predictions? Jonah with 3-1, the 3-1 prediction for the US. I'm gonna go something similar. I'll go 3-0. Not as confident as you, IC, but I do think they should win this game and handily. How about you, Sarah?
I was gonna say 3-0, but now I feel like I gotta change it up.
You don't have to. We can agree. We can agree on something. That's okay.
I'm actually gonna go 2-0. I think that having seen how well New Zealand played Australia, it's possible that we only put 2 away. We didn't score any in the opening game, and so I think it's very possible the U.S. gets held to only 2. But I do have confidence in our back line. I think after letting in 3 goals in the first game, they're going to be pretty determined to keep a clean sheet. So I'm going 2-0.
Okay. So we got 2-0, 3-0, and 4-0. So as long as the U.S. scores multiple goals and has a shutout and doesn't absolutely destroy, one of us will be right, which is kind of nice.
I'm seeing a lot of 3-1s. Everybody thinks that the U.S. is going to concede a goal, which I think is pretty interesting. Not a lot of confidence in our back line or maybe in our goalkeeper here.
Yeah, Izzy says 3-1 as well. So Izzy, Jonah, Kayla, you got to let us know what you think, even though you said scoreline prediction. We didn't actually get a scoreline prediction from you. Everyone else, welcome that is joining. We are not able to show the actual game here, but you get 3 lovely faces talking about the game in a slightly biased way, and you can watch along with us and hang out with the group and talk in the comments about the game. And that's what we're here for at 7:30/6:30 on a Saturday morning for us.
If anybody's joining from Europe and it's the afternoon over there, please let us know. Just a little jealous of you, frankly.
Yeah. You get to watch every game at a reasonable, manageable time.
Yeah.
We got a 3-0 from Lilia. Might be saying that incorrectly. Apologies. But another 3-0, so they trust the back line a bit more than some other folks. Kyle Doesn't Sleep, very appropriate name for this stream. It says 4-1 or 4-2. Not a bad shout either. We got 3-2, even more goals, and very couple of chances early for the US. I gotta watch some more of the game. I'm just curious about everyone's scoreline predictions here without actually watching the score.
Ambitious long shot from Megan Rapinoe right there.
I think you guys, what minute are you guys in right now?
I'm in 7:53. Am I ahead of you guys?
Yeah, I'm just a solid 30 seconds back, but that's all right.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I'm gonna play spoilers, aren't I?
Yeah, we might have to a bit.
I was doing that for
seconds.
The last stream. That was a rip. Yeah, I was doing that for Eli and Jones last stream we were doing. I would scream goal, and they're like, "Wait, what?" And then 10 seconds later, they'd see
I can keep it to myself until you guys react, if that helps. And then we can all talk about it.
Don't worry about it. It's up to you.
If you okay, you got to make the decision right now. This second, I see.
I've already made my decision.
React. All right. And the US go up 1-0.
Let's go.
Early goal.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm waiting for it.
Golazo! Golazo!
Early goal from the US.
We're working our way up.
What did you see there, Sarah?
Shout out to those graphics. Wow. I have to say I was a little distracted trying to make my decision about if I was going to speak or not.
We saw the celebration, that's for sure. The US go up 1-0. Rose Lavelle, Max Jones, our third Footy fella's favorite player by far, puts in the early goal, and the US go up 1-0 on New Zealand. So whoever asked what the score is 3 minutes ago, it is now 1-0 US.
Wow. Hi, everybody from France, from Manchester, England. Izzy, if you're from Manchester and you are here through the WOSO show, let me know, because I guess I'm assuming you know Helen, because everybody in Manchester must know each other, right? What a goal.
Yeah, go ahead.
What a goal early on. I don't know if anybody's seen the goal circulating on social media from the US game a few weeks ago. It was just a beautiful sequence of like 10 one-touch passes all the way basically up the middle of the field. And that's what that goal really just reminded me of. So frankly, that's a good sign. I want to pose a question to you guys and to everybody in the comments, because we saw a lineup last game that featured Christen Press and just some Lindsay Horan at the 6, which is not normal. So like a few players who weren't used to starting, a few players out of position. I know this is a different team, like a different side that we're facing, but is there merit in playing like a Megan Rapinoe and a Carly Lloyd, who are just simply so used to playing together? They've played together for 10 plus years. Is there merit in going with that, even though they may not have individually earned their starting spot, as opposed to players who've individually earned their starting spot, but maybe haven't had as much time together because of the past year?
What do you think, Ice? Experience, young players? What's the right balance for the US?
Yeah, it's a great question. I like young players. I just think it's good for them to build upon the experience, right? To get all that experience under their belt. And I just think they have a little bit of pizzazz, a little pep in their step, and sort of energy out of the gate to play this in this manner of, just high press right away and keep it sustained. I would say generally put in more new faces, new young players than experienced players, and maybe as the game goes on, bring in the experience to wrap up games.
Yeah, it's interesting because looking at this lineup and looking at the whole selection for the Olympics, that was one of the first things I recognized, Sarah, was exactly that. And seeing how many experienced faces there are, it feels comforting, because you look at the roster and you're like, wow, this whole roster has played together. Pretty much everyone on the squad has played in an Olympics or in a World Cup. So you feel you're not as worried about nerves and jitters early on, but it does make you wonder, are they missing some of that youth? Are they missing some of that new energy to kind of force people to be on top of their game, to make people a little uncomfortable in good ways, in training before the Olympics, or just a little worried about their starting spot to kind of push the rest of the team in good ways? So that was my first thought when looking at the Olympic roster, and I'll kind of stick with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a catch-22 sometimes. I mean, you look all the way back to Jill Ellis's career with the national team, and early on she was bringing in a bunch of young players, starting whoever she wanted, and it kind of pissed people off that she was doing that. People were like, no, these kids haven't earned their spot, they haven't earned their time yet. But she was trying different lineups and trying different people until she found something that worked, and luckily she got to hang on to her job long enough to do that. But people were pissed initially until they won the 2015 World Cup, frankly. So it's hard, especially in a position like Vlatko's in, for example, right now, where it's like there's not a lot of space to try new things. You either win a gold medal or you've failed. So
that's a great point. That's a great point. There's such little room for error because it's the U.S., because of the success they've experienced in the past. Another chance here off a corner. Yeah, U.S. has been dominating so far this game. Everyone that's joining us, hopefully watching the U.S.-New Zealand Women's Olympics game as well, thanks for joining us. We hope you're enjoying the game so far. We have at least 38 strong. Appreciate everyone in the comments. Like the stream, help it grow, help more people join this community, watch the game today, and make sure you follow the Women's Soccer Show, Sarah, Helen, on all their socials.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Izzy, thanks for commenting there. Glad you're such a big fan of the show. Sorry you don't know Helen. We'll have to hook you guys up so you can meet. Helen is for anybody who out there who is a fan of the Women's Soccer Show and wondering where Helen is actually playing soccer right now, which is why she could not join at the last minute. So she, had to get in her runs, had to get in her exercise, had to get in her soccer. And I respect it. I'll choose to play over watch any single day. So
she actually wanted us to live stream her game. We were going to live stream Helen playing with just a tripod on like a local field in Manchester, but we couldn't get the TV deal, and that was our condition. Ooh,
oh man!
Ooh, oh my God! Oh, she was offside. I thought Carly Lloyd just scored a beautiful.
Eli's even ahead of me right now.
Sorry about that. I'll ruin it.
No, I like it.
I'll ruin it for everyone.
It was a beautiful ball. It was a beautiful touch.
Oh yeah, she is offside by a bit, but what a touch!
Beautiful ball by Emily Sonnet, though. I personally think that's something that Sonnet's improved on a lot. Sonnet's like a true center back, and in my opinion, her distribution was never quite there. And I think in the past year and a half, it's really, really grown, especially as an outside back on the national team.
Wow, that was really nice. I just saw it.
Sorry,
2 minutes later, he sees the offside goal.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, which player would you say? I'll pull up the U.S. I know we've shown this a couple times. I'll pull up the roster one more time, or at least the starting 11. You can also choose from the bench, Sarah, but who would you say on this U.S. squad is most underrated or least well known? Whatever route you want to take. I'm curious, aside from the Carly Lloyds, aside from the Megan Rapinos, Alex Morgans, the players that are, selling the most jerseys on the tip of every US fan's tongue, who would you say on this US team gets the least recognition or is most underrated skill wise?
Oh my God, what a question.
Big question.
I would have until recently I would have said Crystal Dunn, but I do think that she's getting a lot of recognition in recent months in the lead up to the Olympics. I feel like sometimes I have a skewed view of like who knows, like who like anybody who's not in the soccer community, what names they know. Crystal Dunn's a huge name to me, but I actually do think that if I were to talk to any random person on the street here, there's a chance they might not know who that is. So for that reason, I'm just going to go out and say Crystal Dunn. Frankly, she's the best player on the national team, in my opinion. And I'm going to say that over Julie Ertz. Like, Julie Ertz is so valuable to this team, but I think Crystal Dunn even more so. And you just watch some games where she's like the only speed that they have in the back line. And she's a forward. Like, that's not even her natural position. So I'm going to say all around best player is Crystal Dunn. In terms of being underrated, I'm going to have to say somebody's on the bench, frankly, who's not even suited up for this game. I think Lynn Williams has been underrated for a really long time, and I think people don't see really, really what she can do. I don't think she's showed up necessarily as well as she showed up for club just time and time again. I don't think she showed up as well for the national team yet, but when that starts to come through, it'll be very clear. I think that she's just very underrated.
Wow. Love those takes.
What
Lynn
about
Williams,
you two?
Remind me of the first one more time.
I'm going to go Crystal Dunn, best player
Crystal
on the
Dunn.
U.S. women's national team, hands down.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments who you think, while we chat about this a bit, the best player on the U.S. women's national team, most underrated. I got to change the change the banner. Sorry, it's still a bit early here. Do you want to go, Icy? Anyone underrated on the squad?
Yeah, it's a good question. Everyone just seems so good that it's hard to pick someone, but I'll probably go with, I don't know. She's more of a veteran. It's hard to be underrated as such a distinguished veteran. I was thinking Christen Press, but she's already put in all the work, and she's very good. Everyone knows she's good.
It's funny because we were just talking about how pretty much every player in this squad is like an experienced vet, so you don't have so many newbies. Maybe Adriana French in goal. I don't know how many times, how many caps.
We lost Eli's audio. That's a good shout, though. I was thinking as I was watching the game, looking at the watching our keeper make some saves, and early on here that I haven't really heard much about the new keeper. You hear a lot about obviously. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm late. I'm sure you guys saw like close goal already, but Rose Lavelle almost getting a second one. Yeah, good shout out on the keep.
I love these shout outs in the comments too. Christy Mewis.
Let's throw some of them up. Yeah, go through them. You talk through them. We'll just add them up, and you can comment on each.
Christy Mewis. I mean, we'll start up here. I believe it's Lila. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. The Mewis sisters are really good. Oh yeah. It's been really fun to watch both of them get to play together. I think Sam Mewis was pretty underrated before this year, and then after going to Manchester City, I think people really started to see like the brilliance of Sam Mewis. So that was really fun to watch, and Christy Mewis is starting to get her moment in the sun after being on the national team when she was really young and then spending 7 years off the national team. She's finally back on. I think those are great shouts. Lindsay Horan, I love that. I think that she's a really good shout for somebody who's underrated because she can get lost in the mix of those midfielders who I think are probably even more valuable to the team than the forwards. I mean, I think that's the hardest midfield to break into in the entire world. You've got Julie Ertz, Sam Mewis, Lindsay Horan, and Rose Lavelle, and Julie Ertz is the staple in the back. So you've got Rose Lavelle, Sam Mewis, and Lindsay Horan fighting out for 2 spots, and all 3 of those players are world-class players. And so sometimes you can forget how incredible Lindsay Horan is. And she's incredibly versatile. She was just playing the 6 last game in place of Julie Ertz. Her possession is kind of unmatched, in my opinion, across the board. We got another Horan shout, another Christy Mewis shout. Nair is underrated. I love that. I think Alyssa Nair doesn't get enough credit. Sometimes goalkeepers, that's just like the plight of the goalkeeper. But yeah, I mean, people are constantly talking about how Ashlyn Harris should have started, so on and so forth. I think that's a really good shout. Crystal Dunn, Christy Mewis, Lynn Williams. I agree. I think I shouted out Crystal Dunn and Lynn Williams. Christy's a queen. I love that we've got a lot of Christy fans here. It's hard not to love Christy Mewis. I mean, yeah, I'm going to agree with all of these. It's hard to pick the most underrated. Again, it's 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 part of being on the women's national team. There are so many good players and only so much spotlight, I guess. I'm gonna say that Nair saved our butts many times. Nair saved our butts. I know we've got some people joining us from the UK. Nair specifically saved our butts in that 2019 semifinal against England.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us where you're joining from. If you're just joining, we got a lot of folks just joining now, which is amazing. Definitely throw a like on the stream, which helps us out a lot. Subscribe to the channel. We're super close to 400 subscribers, and we want to do a lot more of these live streams. Live stream the Olympic Games, Premier League games after that, Women's Super League games, all that stuff coming up, and do more collabs with our great friends, the Women's Soccer Show, and Sarah and Helen. So if you're fans of them, if you're fans of us, if you're just hanging out, subscribe to the channel, like the stream, means a lot. And the U.S. is up 1-0 in the 23rd minute right now. So it's been a good game so far. I'd say they've dominated so far, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They've dominated to the point that it has me worried my 2-0 prediction is just so off because it looks like we're going to put some away.
Man, being behind you guys, it's I always think, oh man, we're gonna score. And then I think, oh wait, you guys didn't react. So this is probably gonna fizzle out.
Oh no.
But
we've spoiled every moment beforehand. Even by not reacting, we just can't win.
Yeah, it's looking good. A lot of domination from the US. It's just a level or 3 above New Zealand right now.
Mm-hmm.
We got a question here from Scott in the chat. How have recent goalies compared to Hope Solo was obviously this massive character in women's soccer maybe 6 years ago? It feels like a long time ago. I don't know the exact year she played, but now that we're talking about Nair, we're talking about French. Do you want to wax poetic about this for a sec, Sarah? You look like you're ready to just go in.
It's a big question. I think that Hope Solo is probably one of the most underrated or like misunderstood players in all of the women's national team. I think she's one of the best goalies to ever live. So to compare to her would be pretty hard. Yeah, that's my answer. I'm a big Hope Solo fan, despite everything off the field.
Yeah, do you, as a fan of the player, do you factor in much of off the pitch type stuff when you talk about kind of or assess your love for a player, liking for a player?
Sorry, say that again.
Does it factor in much off the pitch type stuff like that when you think about a player that you really like or love, or you just focus on the pitch stuff?
I try to just focus on the pitch, but it's hard not to bring everything else into account,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I apologize. I will be right back, everybody.
We are about halfway through the first half. You got the Footy fellas here. You got Women's Soccer Show, which is amazing. We've had them on our pod a couple of times, which has been super exciting. Just talking all things women's soccer, talking about five-a-side teams. But for this moment in time, it is just Eli and Icy from the Footy fellas. And we're here with all of you, which is amazing. It's great to watch some early morning for us in the U.S. And we got folks from all over that commented earlier, from Spain, from France. What else am I missing, Ice?
We had some Manchester, England. That's right. So comment where you're from, where you're watching from, if you're watching all around the world, which is super exciting. Makes it more fun for us. And it's the U.S. have been dominating so far. They've looked like what people expected the U.S. to look like in their first game of the tournament. Yeah. I have to say, these jerseys are fresh.
These are nice jerseys.
You get a look at them now, and these are very, very cool. Did we catch the maker? Nike, Adidas, whoever?
I don't know. I'm about to pull it up. One sec.
They showed up for the tourney.
Yeah, I'm curious what people think about the new jerseys, because I saw there was some mixed emotions originally about these U.S. jerseys, but I'm gonna pull them up now because I think they're pretty fire. I agree with you, Ice. I think they're super nice.
I mean, not a lot of white for red, white, and blue, but I think it's enough the number's white, the little logo is mostly white.
Yep.
So
you can picture. I'm sharing it now. These are the new U.S. women's kit that if you're watching the game, you've obviously seen them. And something might have just happened in the game. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you watch it, Icy, and then respond in kind.
All right. We've got Rose Lavelle just doing work in the mid. Okay, Christen.
You'll get there in a sec. We got people from Sweden, from Finland. That is amazing.
Let's go.
And I'll wait another 10 seconds for you to respond in kind.
God. What the heck? How is this offsides?
Just barely offsides. The U.S. with another potential goal, but it is ruled offside. So they're still up 1-0. People from Sweden, from Finland. That's amazing. Mina, Met. So apologies if I mispronounce your name. Thank you for joining so much. Let's see. Yeah, the jerseys. We have one folks saying they're fire, which we agree with.
Agreed, yes.
You got to kind of picture that there's a number on the back as well.
To
really get the full picture.
Making jerseys, man. I just feel like there have been so many designs over the course of time that it's not an easy task.
It must be so not easy because it feels like you're replicating something. Like it always feels like you're replicating something. And so, all of a sudden you come up with this new design. Everyone's like, oh, this is a great version of the 88 blank kit. So that's kind of funny. But there's so many new designs out these days, like so many modern designs, and football kits have skewed so far from what the classic designs of just these stripes. You get all these different types of patterns and all that kind of stuff, which has just changed the game and changed what we see on the pitch. Yeah.
They're really cool nowadays. I saw it on Twitter. I think some Italian club, I don't know if it was the top league Serie A or if it was a lower, it might have been a lower division. They opened it up to any fan to submit jersey designs, and this person made an absolutely stunning jersey design. I honestly wanted to buy it right then and there. It was like he put a map of Italy and like the city that the team played for on the map, on the jersey. It was very cool. It's hard to describe because it's so cool.
No, I know what kit you're talking about. I've seen it.
I'm
blanking, but I've seen it.
It was a Brazilian. Sorry, not Italy. I think it was a Brazilian club. I honestly tried to buy it, but the whole website was in Portuguese. Now it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't read Portuguese. I'm gonna end up like, oh, you got my social security number? Oh, here you go. I'll give it to you. But it was a very cool jersey.
What's the deal with? Yeah. I was gonna ask Sarah a question, but go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What's the deal with Fouties? You can either plug Fouties if you want. I've been very curious. I'll ask Helen about it next time we're chatting, maybe on a live stream with all the lovely folks here. But what's the deal with Fouties? If you want to give us the quick spiel.
Love nothing more than to plug Fouties for my girl. I really hope I do it justice. I really hope I can describe this well. So essentially, Helen and I talk a lot on our podcast about how there's a huge accessibility problem for women's soccer. And part of that is when it comes to jerseys and merchandise, it's just like simply not available. Like, I talked to a lot of Canadian national team fans and they're like, I can't even buy a Sinclair jersey. Like Christine Sinclair, who scored the most goals out of anybody in the entire world, and they can't buy a Christine Sinclair jersey. So there's a huge accessibility problem. And on top of that, for jerseys that are accessible, it's hard if you're not in that country to also purchase. So, for example, it's hard for people in the UK to purchase US women's national team jerseys. Am I the only one here, or am I just the only one on the screen?
We're still here. Can you still hear us? I'm trying this view out for the first time while you monologue on Fouties. I wanted to give you the first.
I'm so sorry. Is this too long-winded of an answer?
No, it's perfect. That's why I wanted to spotlight you for a sec. We'll come back in a second. We're just hiding in the background.
Okay, great. For anybody who joins right now, they think this is just like one girl in a screen talking about Fouties.
All right, fine. We're back. No, okay, we're back. You got us. Sorry, keep going.
So, for example, if you're in the United Kingdom and you want to buy a women's national team jersey, or frankly, even in Canada, there's just like so much like $100 of shipping tacked onto it. It just is like there's a lot of barriers to entry, if you will. I thought we almost scored. And so what Footy's is doing, what Helen's doing with Footy's is essentially trying to localize and like centralize everything for women's soccer merchandise, be it club or country. So she essentially can acquire in bulk jerseys from WSL teams, NWSL teams, and then has the rights to be able to print in that lettering, in the club's lettering, in the team's lettering, and sell women's soccer jerseys to a larger scope of people for a better price, basically. So she's just kind of working to combat the accessibility issue of women's soccer merch as a whole. So frankly, if you're listening to this and you want any kind of women's soccer merch, go to foutys.com, because support my girl Helen, support what she's doing, because what she's doing is great, and it's actually really great. She sent me a couple jerseys, and it's fantastic. That was amazing. For anybody who is behind on the stream, like I see over there. Oh, I mean, tell me when you guys you're behind too, Eli.
Oh, well, I was focused on your Fouties. Ooh, was that they called offsides on that?
They called it offsides. I want to get everybody in the chat watching this. Was that offsides?
She was.
Wait, that would be our fourth goal taken back.
They're checking with VAR. I don't think she was offsides. They showed the replay. I don't think she was offsides. I think this is going to count. It was a quick replay. They need to freeze it, but
this could be the one time VAR.
Wow, they called. I'm ahead of both of you, but I'm going to spoil it because they upheld the offsides call.
Wow.
That did not look like offside.
So
wait, that's a terrible call. Oh my God.
But they have VAR, I assume, because the ref was checking in her ear. I assume they have VAR, right?
I'm gonna assume they do too.
Oh my!
Unless the ref was just like 1 second, I'm deciding. I'm gonna hold my finger here while I
think about it.
That's 4 goals. I mean, our predictions would have been smoked.
Yeah. Lila says it does not look like it was offsides. Lelia, I'm so sorry that we're butchering your name. I'm sure it's so much more beautiful than we're saying also in our American
Audrey
accents.
asked where we can watch the game from Australia. You're probably feeling good about watching this game if you're in Australia, since you beat New Zealand. Yes,
happy nighttime.
First game 2-1, and it's the nighttime. I'm not sure where you can watch it in Australia. We are not the soccer stream experts.
I apologize.
But you can hang out with us while you watch, while you figure out where to watch. You can just hang out with us. The Footy Fellas Women's Soccer Show. We're watching the game. We're talking about the game. Another Benny either just reiterating the word Australia because I pronounced it wrong, or he's also from Australia, or they are also from Australia. So who knows?
Let us know, Benny. Now we're curious. I agree, Sarah. The women's national team really needs to get onto streaming for Europeans, and frankly, vice versa. It's really hard for me here in the U.S. to watch any kind of international, like European women's soccer game, and it's hard for me to watch the WSL. Getting easier, but still not that great.
Cries in Ireland. Oh, that's too good. This is amazing, though. Such an international group here. Ireland, France, Spain, Manchester, Australia. Love to see it. Love to see it and love to hear it. So if you're from somewhere else, you can put a tack on our imaginary worldwide map, and you want to shout yourself out, shout out your country, please do so. We would love to hear it.
Well, for all of these 4 offside goals, I have to ask both of you, because I think it's an interesting subject and I feel strongly about it. What are your thoughts on, I call it VAR. I think I'm wrong. I guess everybody calls it VAR, but what are your thoughts on VAR? Like, dislike, and why? Richard, it is 1-0 USA.
Yes, it should be 5-0, maybe not. At least 2-0 for sure. I like VAR. I think it's necessary in terms of some of these close calls that used to not get caught in the moment of play. It's good that those get caught. They are the very obvious ones. This one, this example today was egregious. Not offsides. I don't know what they're doing. I don't even know if they have VAR, though. Like you said, Eli, maybe she just touched her ear, the ref. But terrible call. I don't know who made that call. But most of the time VAR is good. The one thing I was going to comment on in this game, which I've seen across Premier League and other leagues, is that they let them play when it's offsides, and then once the ball is dead or goes out of bounds or it's in the net, then they call it. I don't really understand that mentality of letting them play if it's offsides. So I find it a bit frustrating because you could injure yourself, or someone could get hurt, and then for what? Just to be called back.
Yeah, that part's pretty annoying. When it's like crystal clear what's happened and they're still letting the play roll on, it really doesn't make sense. It kind of makes sense when it's such a close call. You're like, well, in case it wasn't offsides, let's like see what happens. But I agree. And it's just a weird cadence to watch the game in.
Yeah.
What about you, Eli? How do you feel about VAR?
Yeah, quick funny story on the like letting offsides go VAR type situation. We play rec soccer just like you do in New York. I believe we've talked about. We we play here in Chicago. Icy plays in Minnesota, so we're all over the U.S. Super international. Just kidding. And in our games, at least, there's two refs. There's two refs, but they're on both, pretty much both sidelines. Or one is actually, that's not true. There's not even two. There's just one. What am I saying? There's three refs. We have three refs. Sorry, it's still early here. We have three refs.
So you have three refs in a rec soccer game?
Yeah. Well, it's through the Chicago Fire League. So, you got to pay for it and all that. It's official, but they do a good job. We have three refs. And last weekend, we had a call that they did that. They did what they're supposed to do, I guess, according to these new rules, where the ref let it play on. But the funny thing is, we obviously don't have VAR. We don't have, none of the other refs can have a better angle than that ref. So to let it play on, I don't know why you do that. Like, what you're gonna go back and replay the film in your head to decide later on. Like, if it's offsides, just call offsides. If there's no VAR, give yourself a second or two. But he let the play go on for 15 seconds and then rose the offsides flag, maybe to just feel very legit. So that was kind of funny. We were laughing about that after the game.
Go ahead, Icy.
I totally understand player frustrations, especially goalies and defenders when there's might be more obvious offsides than other situations, and they let it play. It's like, I didn't have to run, I didn't have to worry about this, and now it's going back exactly to what I thought it was going to be offside. So, but
Australia. Go ahead.
Australia did lose to Sweden 4-2. We're going to look at halftime at the very least. We'll take a quick look at scores from around the Olympics. Look at how some of these other games have finished and what the standings, what the brackets look like so far. Sarah, all you.
I was just looking at Sarah's most recent comment here about VAR. I like it in some things like penalties and offsides, but shit like free kicks and fouls, I think it's not needed. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think I would agree with the sentiment that VAR is overused. That's my opinion on it. So many stupid little handballs and ridiculous penalty kicks are awarded for it. And then you get into the really nitty gritty. And I think this is where people start to differ. So this is going to be fun. You get it into real nitty gritty of you look at VAR for an offsides call and somebody's pinky, the tip of their pinky is offsides. And they're like, offsides, the rule's a rule. It's offsides. And I'm like, I don't, that's where it's a little too much for me. I don't like when an offside is called because your pinky toe is offsides, offside. Sorry. Yeah. So I would agree, Sarah. I like it for some things, and for others, it's just a little too nitpicky for me.
Yeah. We don't have to keep talking about it too long, but I just thought about another thing where, so the Premier League sometimes spends too much time on VAR, and then I watch MLS games and it's too little time on VAR. At least they don't show the fans what they're looking at, which I like the Premier League is doing, but I guess the Premier League for the next season is going to stop doing a lot of that, which is so annoying. I think transparency for a fan is huge. So, I don't know. It's all about, if you can use VAR effectively where you don't delay a game for a long time, that's also important. So that can get annoying.
Junior Perez with the comment of the game so far, just both connecting what we've been talking about, transitioning us back to the game, and reflecting on the offsides call. 1-0 US in the actual game score, 1-0-3 in terms of offsides, maybe even 4 offsides
4-0,
goals
yeah.
so far for the US. So the real score on the board is 1-0 US if you're just joining us. Hopefully you're watching the game. Hopefully you are excited to talk women's soccer, which we're going to get into a little more at halftime as well. But yeah, it's been a good game so far. Decent amount of possession for both teams, like quality possession.
I think it's really important for the U.S. to put one away before halftime. Going in 1-0 at half for New Zealand is going to be like, ooh.
Eli had a reaction, so
yeah, I think it was what I just saw too.
We'll see. Okay, on the last one, we'll see what happens.
A good chance for New Zealand. So Sarah's point rings even more true. Please continue.
Pretty much exactly what I was saying, and then New Zealand almost scored. Yeah, the U.S. needs to put more than one away going into halftime. If I'm New Zealand and I'm only down 1-0 to a U.S. team that just lost 3-0 to Sweden, I'm thinking we can do this. All it takes is one, and then we come out of here with a tie. Like, that's pretty big time. So, yeah, the U.S. needs to put one away within the next 2 minutes. Absolutely. Otherwise, I'm not worried about the second half, but it just if they want to be the U.S. that they've been and really be able to put teams away and close the gap and make them feel like they can't come back, this is not the way to do it. And this is not the showing that they were hoping for either after Sweden.
Yeah.
In terms of goals.
Yeah. I mean, what do you do as the coach at halftime when you should be up? Well, you put 5 goals in the net, 4 were called offsides. I mean, it's kind of demoralizing slightly for a player. It's like, man, if we were up 5-0, we'd probably, a chunk of us might be subbed out and, we kind of be in cruise control. What do you tell? I mean, what do you kind of say at halftime if you were the coach?
Here's one thing to possibly say, Icy. I'm sorry. Once again, I'm so sorry.
Golazo! Golazo!
Wow, Sarah, I have to say, man, your predictions are spot on fire.
Sarah has been fortune telling this game play by play. The U.S. go up 2-0, which you will see in a second. I think it was Julie Ertz heading it back across off that corner. Such a good job on the back post, making sure someone is there because that is the worst. And a strong head all the way back across, which gets finished in the middle by Haran. Great play from the U.S. off that corner.
Really
great
nice
one. U.S. so strong off corners, so it's good for them to get one and kind of feel good about that. I think that they can go into halftime pretty happy now, even though they've had 3-4 goals that have been called offside. I think the mindset is just keep at it. Just keep trying to put them away, and one of them won't be offsides. We'll just keep scoring. Hopefully.
There you go. That's the impassioned speech that you got to deliver with such energy. Like, keep putting in goals. One of them won't be offside.
Eventually, odds are one of you won't be offside. So just keep going, guys.
Yeah. I'm glad Haran got on the goal sheet. She should have 2, but she for sure has 1. Well deserved.
Sarah, do you think there's any country that comes close to the U.S. in terms of their aerial game? Because like you said, they're so strong off corners, especially Haran, Julie Ertz. They got some players that are just great in the air. Are they going to have that advantage against every team they play?
I think pretty much, yeah. I think Australia might be a bit of a taller team than us. So that might be the only mismatch, but we're still a pretty tall team. You put Sam Mewis in there, and I don't think there's many players taller than her. So yeah, I don't think that anybody, I think Australia could compete in the air. And Canada's a really physical team, but I don't think that in the air they're actually as quality as the US is. So I really think it's Australia, and otherwise it's a huge advantage that the US has and knows that they have. They know that when they get a corner kick, that's a massive opportunity for them to score, and they usually capitalize on it.
Love to hear that. If you're a U.S. fan, love to hear that. We just hit halftime. U.S., New Zealand, Women's Olympics, 2-0. The U.S. putting in a nice goal early. I think about 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, maybe even earlier than that, from Rose Lavelle, and a second right before halftime off a corner kick. Julie Ertz head across. Lindsay Van smashes it home. And the US are 2-0, looking comfortable, looking like the team people expected to see, at least US fans were hoping to see. And we've hit halftime, and it feels like they're rolling. They're rolling again. Sorry if you lost me for a sec, but they're still rolling. My internet's going like in and out. It's getting excited when they score.
It's a lot to support.
No, it's great. You know, I have to say, I wonder how many people on the stream or others are kind of like me, where, you know, the U.S. women's, or not U.S. women's, but the world of women's soccer is so dominated by the U.S. At least here, obviously, in the United States, it's very much best country. You really don't hear a lot about the other countries because the U.S. is just always expected to win. They dominate. I'm looking at the world rankings. I had no idea Sweden's ranked 5th in the world. So coming into that game, I didn't think much of it, but Sweden is not some team to just brush over. 5th in the world, and they just crushed Australia, which I don't think was. I mean, looking at the world rankings may have been expected, but I don't think I heard a lot of people saying Sweden would maybe do as well as they did. So Sweden, I was going to ask you, Sarah, how much of a contender were they before the Olympics? I mean, now they're really making their case.
Frankly, they're a pretty big contender, especially coming up against the U.S. Helen and I were actually talking about this both off of the pod and mentioned it on our podcast a little bit too, that for some reason Sweden never gets the credit that they deserve. They have done very, very well in every single major tournament that they've competed in. Sweden knocked the U.S. out of the Olympics in 2016. They didn't do too well actually in the past Women's World Cup, but they did make it to the quarters, I believe. They've got some silver medals under their belt. They've got some World Cup semifinals under their belt. Like, they are always competing in world tournaments, whether they're playing the upset or they're actually going far. And frankly, when it comes to investment in the game, Sweden and women's soccer in Europe have seen like a pretty, I don't want to call it big, but like an influx of support, which has just led them to keep growing. And I think that we're seeing them reap the benefits of that right now. Like, Sweden's always been such a great team, and they've always been really difficult for the US to handle. And they've always been somebody in major tournaments that nobody's just going to walk over. And I think that we're seeing them actually just like take that next step into. Sweden could very well win this entire tournament right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and you and Helen have great predictions. I'll always remember the
sometimes when they're right, they're right, but when they're wrong, they're really, really wrong.
The Champions League final with Barcelona and Chelsea. I mean, you guys were so ready for the Barcelona victory, and they crushed it. So so let's do a little Olympic prediction. Tournament as a whole. Do you think who do you think is going to win, and who's going to be? What's that final matchup going to look like in your eyes?
So Helen and I did a little preview episode for the Olympics, and we both picked our finals teams. We went about it very differently. I went through the whole tournament because it gets complicated, right? If who comes out number 1 in the group, who comes out number 2 in the group determines what the matchups are going to be and what matchups you can get later on in the tournament. So if you can't just pick like, well, the U.S. is going to play the Netherlands, because it's possible that it's going to line up that the U.S. will play the Netherlands in the quarterfinals. So I went through it, and I ended up with a USA versus Brazil final, which is wild. Spicy. Very, very spicy. But I really liked how Brazil played in the She Believes Cup. I know they're, not ranked very high, and they've never done very well in a major tournament, but I think that they've turned a page with their national team. I loved watching them play in the She Believes Cup. I think that they're in the weakest group right now, and so they have the easiest road out of it. The only barrier is the Netherlands, and I actually think that they could maybe pull one out and like line up pretty well against the Netherlands. So I have them going to the final because I think that once they get out of their group, they might have a good road. So it's a spicy one. And now that the U.S. has effectively lost and they're probably going to come out second in the group, my U.S. pick is now getting a little spicy also. What about you two?
Yeah, no, I So like you said, you made a great point saying that it depends on how you finish in the group and then who you face coming out of group play and the knockout rounds and stuff like that, which could change all your predictions. But I don't know. I still obviously cannot rule out the U.S., even though first game was tough to Sweden. So I think they'll advance out of the group play and obviously make a good run to the final. I mean, let's be real. I'm so wide open for who could play them in the final, to be honest. Again, it's just there's so much coverage and pure rhetoric of just dominance from the U.S., especially here.
Yeah,
that I don't know they don't cover other teams too much, so I don't know who's really performing leading up to this tournament.
Well, I think the fun thing about this tournament is that we're missing a lot of powerhouses, but there's also there's no Germany, there's no France, but we also have a lot of powerhouses. Like for a 12-team tournament, there's a lot of highly ranked teams here. The Netherlands obviously was in the World Cup final against the US. They're a massive powerhouse. We're seeing Sweden and how dominant they are. Canada's always a strong team. Australia is always a strong team. I'm so sorry to all of you UK folks, but I really can't name Great Britain here because
wow.
I mean, they haven't really played together, It's kind of like a team thrown together by a new coach, and they showed well against Chile. And Eli, I think you're going to throw up the score, so I'll try not to play any spoilers. But they just beat Japan, so they're getting the results. But when it comes down to getting through the knockout stages, I don't think I can consider them a powerhouse. I'm sorry to everybody in the comments if I just upset you.
And we just lost 3/4 of our fans. Nice. All right, we'll take a quick look at the scores. Let us know in the comments who you think will win Olympic gold, because that's the question that is hot in our minds right now. Let me pull up some of these scores, because once we wake up in the U.S., whether you're East Coast, West Coast, or Mid Coast, no coast, you have pretty much every single score except for the last game to look through because of the time difference. So we've got every score from the entire previous day already that happened, so we can discuss all those games. So let me pull that up. Yep, we got one shout for the US, Sweden, or UK in the comments. Let us know. USA, a big USA from Jonah. We would all probably like that. Let's see. All right, Sarah, you want to talk through some of these scores from earlier today?
I would love to. And I think there's one going on right now, which is really exciting, that I just was talking about too, the Netherlands-Brazil. There it is.
Wow, 2-1
Netherlands-Brazil
in the second half. That's a game.
Yeah, that's a game. So, I had it that Brazil could potentially pull this out. It could happen. That's a really strong showing for Brazil. Even if they do lose by 1 goal, that's a really strong scoreline right there and bodes well for them. Team GB beat Japan. That's great. It seems like to me there were still a couple question marks for Team GB coming off of their win against Chile. No disrespect to Chile, but Chile's not a strong side. So Team GB having not really been tested yet in the tournament, this was the first test. Japan's a strong team. Surprised that Japan didn't put any goals away. They've just been really putting a lot of goals away in the lead up to this tournament. So I'm surprised that GB was able to hold them to 0. Frankly, that bodes really well for Team GB. So maybe I'll eat my words, everybody.
Yeah. Has Japan, I'm curious about Japan, because they've always been so strong in the past on the women's side. And I know they gave the US a lot of trouble in some past major tournaments. Have they drew their first game, right? They drew their first game against Canada, I believe.
Yep.
And I don't know enough about Canadian women's soccer. I haven't watched them enough to know how strong they are, but I'm wondering if this result, Great Britain taking down Japan 1-0, is more of a sign of, Great Britain solidifying themselves, maybe the team actually coming together early in the tournament, or if Japan has struggled recently on the world stage.
No, I think that it's a good sign for GB. Japan hasn't been recently what they were before. They won the 2011 World Cup. They were in the finals of the 2015 World Cup, and it's been a bit of a decline since then. Just their team got older, and they've had to do a little bit of rebuilding. So they're not the team they used to be, but they're still very competitive. This group is the most interesting one to me. Chile, Canada, Great Britain, and Japan, because I think Japan, Great Britain, and Canada all are very equivalent. And in all of those matchups, it's kind of anybody's game. Like, I was looking at that and thinking that we could come out with a lot of ties. Like, we could have seen Japan tie Canada, and then Japan tie Great Britain, and then Great Britain and Canada tie. And then it's like, what happens? So I think that this is a really good sign for GB. They're going to be tested against Japan, and now they're going to be tested against Canada. So if they can pull all of that out, it's a really good sign, because those three teams are all competitive and also, to me, live kind of along the same level.
That's a great shout for that Group E: Canada, Great Britain, Japan, Chile. We'll take a look at the groups in a sec. We're just talking through some of the live scores from today. While we're talking about Great Britain, what do you think, Sarah, about that comment from Hedge and Bets, which I doubt is someone's name, but please welcome everybody. Welcome to the chat. If you're just joining, it's halftime of the US New Zealand game, and we're just talking women's Olympics scores from across the tournament that happened all earlier today and last night for us, but today for everywhere else in the world. There are most other places in the world. But what do you think about that comment? Because Great Britain's already through to the quarterfinals, they should get an easy ride through to the semifinals, so could be contending at the very least for the bronze medal.
I think it's a fair point just in terms of how the tournament goes. I think you've spoken a little too soon, because you don't know if GB's coming out first or second in this group.
Ooh.
So it's great for them that they know that they're already out. It probably puts a little less pressure on their next game against Canada. That would have been a hard game to go into, being like, this is a must win. Like, we either win or we go through, or we don't.
Look at quick. Look at the Brazil score. We were just looking; they were down 2-1, and now they're up 3-2.
Even
against the Netherlands. They commented. Izzy commented they equalized, and literally since then, Brazil scored again. So they must have just scored 2 goals in the last 3 or 4 minutes since we started talking. God. And now they're up 3-2 on the Netherlands. That's nuts. That's a crazy game. Got to make sure we watch some highlights there or rewatch part of that game.
I want to check on how much time is left there. I mean, I'm not going to say I told you so yet, but if this scoreline stands, I'm going to be absolutely beside myself.
That is nuts. 3-2 Brazil in that game against the Netherlands. 2 top teams in the world. Marta has been looking like an absolute stud so far this tournament. She's been great, as always, just continues to be great. Wow. That is crazy. Here's some of the other scores from earlier today. Sweden took down Australia 4-2, so they continue their pretty dominant start to the tournament.
For all we know, the assumption now is that Sweden will advance first in the group. If they beat Australia, they should comfortably beat New Zealand, and they should be able to advance first in the group. And then, frankly, it'll come down to Australia and the US. If they've both lost to Sweden and they've both beat New Zealand, they're going to play to see who goes second.
Yeah, I'm going to switch to the brackets in a sec. Just want to call out this China-Zambia game, 4-4. Love to see some goals. And their first game from Zambia was 10-3, where they did lose, but they put in 3 goals, and I believe it was a hat trick. So the fact they've scored 7 goals in 2 games is not too shabby for Zambia, a team that's not normally on this international stage. Please, if you need to give a shout out, do it.
I'm so sorry. My little sister's in the comments. Hi, Liza. For anybody who wants to give my little sister some shit, throw it at Liza Ash.
Putting her on blast in front of everyone. Wow.
You can say whatever you want to her. Just give her some shit. Give her a hard time. It's fine with me.
We've got a couple more minutes of halftime. Let's quickly talk the table itself. Welcome everyone. We need everyone bringing that energy, that woo with 4 O's, all caps kind of energy. But these are some of the group standings that Sarah was talking about already. We've got, Group E here, super tight, like she said. Each team could be winning any of their games, which makes it exciting. Netherlands and Brazil fighting for the top spot in Group F. And then Group G, obviously unfamiliar sight with the U.S. at the bottom right now, but they are up 2-0 as the second half kicks off today. So they will end up in that second spot, most likely, or even third at this point in the group.
Yeah, there will be some third place advancing. It's not just going to be 1 and 2 from every group. So There is hope for anybody who sees their team fall to number 3. The 2 best third place teams will also be advancing. I don't want to go down this road, but possible hope for the US if things don't turn out against Australia.
Good point. Well, the second half just started. I wanted to talk Casey Stoney and get your thoughts on the new managerial situation, which I know Helen would be even more excited for. So is that breaking news, Sarah? Would you argue that that's breaking news technically, or no?
I would argue it was breaking news like 2 weeks ago.
but you would argue that if we have a fun visual for breaking news, it's still enough breaking news to use that.
It's absolutely enough. This is very important breaking news information.
Well, in that case, everybody, we do have some quick breaking news. Quick breaking news. A couple of weeks.
I'm stunned at the
late.
graphics so far in the show. Top notch.
That's what sets us apart. These top level TV level graphics when you can join for free and hang out with us for free. But yeah, talk a little bit about what that means for the NWSL, bringing in a manager of that caliber, and for a new team as the league continues to grow. What do you think? What do you think that does?
I am beyond pumped that Casey Stoney is coming to the USA. First and foremost, I just absolutely love everything about Casey Stoney on both the soccer level and on a personal level. I just think she's incredible. But on a soccer level, to talk about the soccer level, Casey Stoney did an incredible job with Manchester United. She took a team that had only recently come up from the second division and made them, for the majority of the year until they were unfortunately hit with a lot of injuries, made them a contender for the top 3 spots in the league. Like, they almost made the Champions League. And to do that in such a short period of time, some people don't know she wasn't just the manager. She was literally the brains behind the operation. She's the one who went out and brought the players in. She's the one who decided what her team was going to be consisting of. Obviously, she had help from the front office, but she's the one who decided who was going to be on her team. She's not just putting the starting lineup together. So to have a mind like that come to the NWSL, to a new team who is also building and will be putting a team together, exactly what she did at Manchester United, for her to be able to do it a second time here in the NWSL is really, really exciting as a soccer fan. And then on top of that, it's just so good for the NWSL. Number one, to bring in somebody from the UK who this hopefully will bring WSL fans over to watch the NWSL, kind of in the same way that a bunch of women's national team players for the US went to the WSL and a bunch of us started watching the WSL. So hopefully those worlds just continue to meld together. Stop calling it soccer.
Right, we got a lot of that in our first live stream, so that's a fair shout. If you're gonna comment and be active in the chat, and that means you got to roast us for calling it soccer a couple times, that's cool, Joshua. No worries. That's a fair shout.
I love it. To me, frankly, they're very interchangeable, and it just depends on who I'm talking to. Usually, when I talk to Helen, I call it football. And let's be honest, it makes more sense.
You adjust for your audience. You just you're here to please your audience.
Just a people pleaser, really. But to finish on Casey Stoney, yeah, it's going to be great for a lot of reasons, and bringing other fans into the league who are outside the US is one of them. And then another reason is simply because it's going to be a great team. It's going to be a fun team to watch, and that as well will bring fans in, along with the fans who are already existing, who are just going to be really excited to get to watch that. As a Bay Area native, I was a little bit upset to hear that the team moved from Sacramento to San Diego, but it is what it is,
Yeah, that's a bit sad, but agreed. That's a great point on the crossover, kind of the fandom crossover, because the WSL bringing in a lot of players during the off season from the NWSL, a lot of the US women's national team stars, made a huge difference. And we were following it a lot more. We were following the WSL a lot more. I'd argue they were medium successful in terms of their ability and what they bring. You could go player by player at some point. Don't have to do it right now. I'm just saying you as in the general you. And they got, they were big. It was like Tobin Heath and some of the big players for the Manchester teams got some time. And That was great. I wouldn't say they took the league by storm and showed that they were that much greater of a caliber, which is how
I would argue they maybe did.
You think so?
I do.
Please.
Sam Mewis took Manchester by storm. That is for sure. I think she was able to come into a Manchester City team that was kind of uneasy, and she dominated. She was the best player on the field every time she stepped on the field with Manchester City. And I think that a lot of Manchester City fans would agree with that. But I don't know. If you're a Man City fan, you're in the comments and you don't agree with that, let me know. And then I think on the other side of Manchester, if they were United, Tobin Heath and Christen Press were just like invaluable to the team. The moment Tobin Heath got hurt, everything started to kind of dissipate for United. So I do think that they were able to come in and show they are maybe a higher caliber than some of the players. Going to try to tread very carefully here. There are very top-notch, high-quality players in that league who play for a myriad of different international teams. So I'm in no way saying that the U.S. women's national team players were above everybody, but I think that they were able to come in and make a statement enough to show that, like, hey, this is why we win all the time as a country, because we have this mentality and this is how we play.
Let's pull up some comments. I think most folks agree with you. U.S. women's national team vids. Sam was the best Man City player. We got a good question from Jim we can get to in a sec, but some other shouts. Tobin Heath was great for United. Press a bit disappointing. So little player by player basis. But a lot of folks agreeing how good Mewis was. I think, and something about her physical presence, like she is such a recognizable player from her play style. So even if you didn't know any of the players on the team and you just tuned in for a game, I think you'd walk away recognizing Mewis's impact, even if she didn't score, even if she didn't get on the score sheet or her name was on the stats. Like, she does so much for a team, and to be able to do that at such a high level team was really impressive. And same with Tobin Heath.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Tobin, even as a Tobin fan, watching her in Manchester was pretty fun, because I feel like you just kind of got to pull back almost the veil of the women's national team and just see how competitive she really is. And she just is a winner and will put her heart and soul into every game to win. And it just was really, really fun to watch that and watch her kind of be the leader on the United team for a while.
What do you think about that comment, huh?
That was a strong narrative throughout the entire season. I totally agree. I think that Mewis shined and Lavelle struggled. And my take on that was because Rose had to play out of position the majority of the time she was at City. And that's, I think, why she struggled a little bit. It's possible that it's also because of the style of play. I think the style of play in the WSL is very different than the style of play in the NWSL. And maybe it was just more conducive to Sam's style of play than it was to Rose Lavelle's. But I think her playing out of position didn't help.
So what do you think, given that comment that the style of play is so different, which I've heard from some other folks? I'm curious if you want to elaborate on that. And we will get back to talking about the U.S. game. It's been kind of similar to the first half so far. It's actually a chance right now in the box. Full-on slide from Lindsey Horan. But the U.S. are up 2-0 right now against New Zealand in the 54th minute of these Olympics, the second game for the U.S. So we will get back to that in a sec. But we're talking NWSL. We're talking WSL. We're talking U.S. women's national team players all around the world. What do you think about this question from Jim that is on everyone's minds especially after this past season?
I will quickly say that should have been a corner kick. All right, Jim, do you think the NWSL, WSL is going to keep money in the leagues enough to keep top players here in the U.S.? It is a question on everybody's minds. My God, I hope so. It's hard, first of all, to compare the two, because the WSL is tied to the EPL. And so money should be more fluid than it is. It technically is fluid because it exists within the club. Like Manchester City has X amount of dollars, and they equate some of it to the men's and some of it to the women's. So like the WSL teams just have such deeper pockets, frankly, than the NWSL, who is like a standalone league. They aren't tied to anything else. And so the structure of the leagues is very different. And I think that the question maybe isn't for the WSL. I think that they're able to spend the money to keep players there and bring players in. So I don't think they're going to struggle with that. I think that that's been the fear for the NWSL, is that so many players playing here in the NWSL can make a lot more money going somewhere else. And that's been the fear. That was the fear when Sam Mewis left, when it was kind of a mass exodus. It seemed like, now looking back, it was for COVID reasons. The NWSL wasn't playing and the WSL was. But the fear was like, oh, shoot, well, they can make more money over there, and I can't really blame them for doing that since they don't get paid enough to begin with. So it's a really good question, Jim. It's the hope on everybody's minds. Obviously, the NWSL is expanding as fast as they possibly can and bringing in money as fast as they possibly can to try to turn that around. My answer is that I really, really hope so, because that's a big thing. That's how you grow your talent pool, right? If your players are going elsewhere, it's really hard to grow your national team.
Yeah, my one comment on this would be, so far right now at this point, the NWSL I think has more prestige than WSL. And maybe it's just me kind of feeling the tide is maybe turning, as we saw some NWSL players go to WSL, and as the markets between the US and Europe grow for watching and fandom and all that stuff. I think, I compare it to some MLS and Premier League. I think the Premier League has way more prestige. And if you're a soccer player, that's kind of where you want to be to get recognized around the world. So right now, NWSL is in a good spot. They're in the front seat, but if they don't think long term and start really strategizing and keeping WSL behind them in prestige and keep up the talent here, I think we could see an exodus, which would be sad, but
turning of the tables, perhaps.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
It's a really good point that prestige really plays into it. Like, you can get a lot of money playing in a league, but if it's not going to challenge you, then why are you going to go there? So that is what the NWSL has going for them. I totally agree.
Spoken like a true champion. If it's not the best, I need to beat the best, no matter if I'm getting paid like the best.
It's all about winning, you guys. Nothing else matters.
Except for the dollar sign in the chat, which is very true. Hello to David from California.
Hi, David from California. Where from California are you? I'm from San Francisco, so let me know.
It's a good question. Did we talk about this, that I was technically born in San Francisco?
We haven't
maybe
spoken about
in the
that.
past, but I only lived there for like 2 years, so it doesn't really count.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But that's awesome.
Yeah, but I still get the coolness factor.
Yeah.
Like, I still, from being born in the Bay Area, people still tell me I'm super cool because of that.
You gotta wear it proud,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, we can add another location now on our world map, which we haven't been doing an interactive world map, but that is a great idea.
It's a great idea for
next future stream, actually. Yeah, we start pinning where people are from, because we would have hit France, Spain, Australia, Manchester, England, California. So all the biggest countries, all the biggest countries in the world.
Potentially Ireland.
Ireland.
Ireland?
Yeah, absolutely. Ireland.
They were sad, but Ireland.
I'm curious what everybody thinks of the first half so far, both you guys and everybody in the comments. But
second half?
I'm sorry, the second half.
It's still early.
It is 8:45, but I did get up at 6, so give me a little bit of a break here.
you still run on California time, so for you it's even earlier still.
I appreciate that. Yeah. What is everybody thinking of the second half? What are your takes on it so far?
Ooh, good chance. There was just one crunching tackle while we were chatting before earlier. Carly Lloyd kind of really went into a New Zealand player, so that caught my eye. Icy, go ahead. Yeah,
I think the USA is kind of picking up where they left off. A lot of pressure. Ball is very much on the New Zealand end. Which is good. I think goals will come. I think in the final third, they're a bit they're indecisive right now. I think maybe the decision making, as their legs get tired, maybe the indecision built in. But I felt like Rapinoe just a little bit ago could have sent it across the box a little sooner with her left foot, and we might be getting something. Okay, never mind. But Carly Lloyd off the side of the net.
I think you're getting further and further behind in your stream. Like at first it was 30 seconds, then it feels like it's a couple minutes.
Oh my God. Would have been nice.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Wow. Go.
I can't see the minutes. They're showing a replay, but I want to see like how far I actually am. Okay, I'm at the 59:45.
Okay.
USA has had a lot of chances. Jonah says in the comments, Justin, to stream this for free, NBCOlympics.com or probably other sites as well. We're not sure for broad audiences, although you can probably still hit up the NBC Olympics route. Was there another option? NBCSN?
Yeah, NBCSN, yeah.
I think Peacock also.
Anything related to NBC.
Yeah.
And then if you're good at finding streams, wink, wink, you could do that too.
Nod, wink, wink. We've all found soccer streams at some point in our day. So, we're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
Recovery game for the US. They're playing well. Agreed. A lot of negativity after that first game. So to see them bounce back, it's been good so far. Sorry, Sarah, I cut you off.
No, I don't even remember. That's a great point. It is there was a lot of hate coming out. How did you guys feel about all the haters coming out of the woodworks here? Not surprised? Surprised?
Not surprised.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like, I'd argue what I saw was more people that weren't fans of the U.S. women's national team. The way you phrase it makes me think you saw people that were fans just kind of hating on the team just because they were frustrated. But I think from the non-fan perspective, it's kind of like the Warriors in basketball, even though the U.S. women's national team dynasty has been going on for far longer.
Bay Area reference.
Yeah, that's my team. That's my team, Warriors. Where, a team's great for so long, and you're going to get haters. And when something goes wrong, they're going to come out of the woodwork. That's just like how you wake up and eat breakfast. That's how the clock ticks, the world turns. So it didn't surprise me, but I
kind of loved it. Oof.
It's just easy to
hate. Was that?
I'm not even going to try to hide it. I'm not even going to try to hide it this time.
Oh man.
Wow.
It's not a golazo.
It is not.
But it is a goal. So we will run the goal music just so people know if they're falling asleep, if it's still too early, you'll know what the score is. Here we go.
Golazo! Golazo!
I love that so much.
It looked like an own goal, which is tough. It definitely was an own goal from New Zealand.
Absolutely was an own goal. Tobin Heath potentially fouling the player who scored the own goal also. But count it and spot it in the stands, Dr. Jill Biden.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a VIP right there.
VIP.
That's a super important person. So it is 3-0. 3-0 US over New Zealand. As we're talking about their disappointing performance in the first game when they lost 3-0, they are now up 3-0 in their second game. So they're looking to bounce back. They're looking to shut out the haters. And Jonah makes a good point that the bar is just that high.
Oh man, that's so tough for the New Zealand defender. What can you do?
Yeah. Nothing. You can't do anything in that situation. I feel like that's not something the New Zealand defender needs to feel like is on her resume there. That was just a ball in a really dangerous place, and she's either going to jump for it and it's going to go in, or she's not going to jump for it. It's going to go in. So
yeah. And which one is she going to get more hate for?
Right.
Not going for it.
Right. Exactly.
In scores too around the women's world, since we were looking earlier at halftime, Netherlands scored again, and now it's 3-3.
Stop it.
Netherlands Brazil, which is pretty nuts. So that game has gotten kind of crazy.
Wow. I'm a little speechless. I know that I had something called, but I'm a little speechless at that. It's pretty amazing to say. This is a larger conversation, but Helen and I talk a lot about how the gap in women's soccer is closing, and it's closing really quickly. And this is just an indication of that. Like, it used to be, there were 3 or 4 top teams and they destroyed everybody else. And now we're getting to see that it's becoming more like kind of how we see men's soccer, where we're getting to the place where anybody could beat anybody on a given day, and the gap is really closing, and the top 20 is now really competitive, for example.
100%. It makes a big difference. And it's kind of, I mean, you're seeing that even like you're seeing that at every level. You're seeing that my headphones just got wonky. You're seeing that like within leagues where certain teams, especially in the NWSL, where when we were talking about it on the pod last weekend, you had like 4 teams tied on top of the table with 16 points, and then a team with 15 and 14 points. So there's no clear favorite. And then on a larger scale, you see it across the world also. You see it across the world. So I'm curious if people have NWSL teams they support or teams in their own leagues, wherever you're from, throw those in the comments. I'm curious what fans we have here just to get a sense. We want to hear about that.
Oh, yeah. I would like to comment and share my opinion on your team as well.
On every single team. So if you want to review, we're doing a segment. We'll do a quick segment of team reviews where Sarah will give you her honest take on your team. It's absolutely more entertaining if there's competition, though. So to see just the competition elevating because everyone is stepping up their game, like the Barcelona women's team of the world and bringing new players onto the scene, it's just awesome.
Totally agreed.
Well, yeah, I think what you, Sarah, were talking about when we were talking about the Champions League between Barcelona and Chelsea so long ago. Something good happened.
Something bad almost just happened, actually.
She got bodied. She did kind of get the shoulder. It was a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge.
That is not a good look for a center back to get bodied off of the ball like that.
That's tough.
That is not a good look. Yeah. Tierna Davidson is we can come on to Tierna Davidson. What were you saying, IC?
Oh, I was just commenting on Barcelona and how not only what they're doing that's really fun or good for the world of women's soccer is the Barcelona men's club and the women's club are I think you guys were hinting that they were just getting way more integrated together. Like they actually were hanging out. The teams were hanging out together and money was flowing. Like they actually were investing a lot more in the women's club, and to see them actually get a trophy at the end of it, the trophy, that's huge. I mean, that just shows that make the investments and dedicate time to the team and it'll pay off. So
totally, for the amount of money Barcelona had, it was like, pennies to them, what they needed to invest in the women's game to be funneling, like comparatively funneling a lot of money into the women's game right now is pennies compared to what they had for the men's team. And they did it. And look what happened. And the fact that they're combining the two, it's really fun to see. We got some subs on.
We got some subs. Thank you. Jonah he's just keeping us updated. Just making sure everyone's paying attention, Lavelle and Rapinoe off. Lavelle had a great game. She always shows up for the U.S. regardless of if she struggles for her club teams. She always shows up for the U.S. and she scored the first goal today, caused some havoc by making darting runs in the first half. So good game for her. Rapinoe as well, a couple of chances down the wing, nothing too notable, but she was making an impact as well. So both of them off for Christen Press and Mewis, who we were talking a lot about earlier.
Oh yeah. This is going to be, it's fun to see the difference between Rapinoe and Press on the wing because they're such different players. It's a hard debate in my mind. Like I do think Christen Press has been playing better recently, but I do sometimes think that the team as a whole just plays better when Rapinoe's in. Curious if anybody has takes on that in the comments.
Brilliant. We've got some teams people are willing to throw up to you. Willing to throw out to you to potentially get roasted. But whenever you have time, whenever you want to go in, Sarah, we've got a couple of NWSL teams, some fans here, which is awesome.
I'm a huge fan of both teams just mentioned. Houston Dash. I'm going to fully admit I hopped on that bandwagon in the 2020 Challenge Cup, but I have not hopped off of it and I will not. So I'm officially a fan of the Houston Dash. They're really fun to watch. I love watching Rachel Daly play the number 9. She's just a really fun player to see. And then with Christy Mewis kind of like evolving throughout the past couple of years, that was really fun to watch the team come together. They're just a fun team. Like they're one of those teams that they look like they have fun on the field and they're just fun to watch. Gotham. I'm currently sitting in Gotham City right now. So I'm a fan. Fun to go to those games, fun to watch. Love the rebrand. Need to get some merch from there. I actually really like the team that they've put together. Gotham has struggled for a very long time and it's been really hard to watch. And they're putting together a pretty fun young team. Really big fan of Anamanu. So really big fan of Midge Purse. I was kind of disappointed she didn't make this roster. So big fan. Good choices so far.
Got some position questions back to the Rapinoe Press debate. What do you think there, Sarah?
Jim's question: Rapinoe has better service into the center.
We've got that question. We got doesn't Press play better as a striker? Couple thoughts.
I think Christen Press is better on the wing because she's just so talented when she cuts in. Like, there's just so many goals I can replay of her basically on the outside of the box, cutting in and at such a tight angle, slotting that goal through because she's just so talented when she's running with the ball. So I like her on the outside more than I like her up top. I do think, to Jim's point too, that Rapinoe has better service into the middle. And potentially that's why the team, I think, plays better with her there, because we are such an aerial team. But Jim also says, I think Press is faster and more aggressive, but Rapinoe, I think, provides better crosses. Yeah. So different elements. I think they bring really different elements to the team. But I would keep Press on the outside. I didn't think she was as strong as the number 9. Ooh. I agree, Hedge and Bets. I'd love to see Christy in.
Another big chance for New Zealand.
Wow.
And Sarah has now seen it. So we got, hey, we're biased slightly, but we're still playing the Golasso for everybody.
Golasso! Golasso!
New Zealand, get on the board.
I wonder when poor Icy's going to get there.
Yeah, we're sorry, Ice, that we have to keep doing this to you. Although that means there's a lot of goals in the game, which is more exciting.
I'm just so curious how New Zealand scores.
It's a nice finish, actually. It was a nice finish. I mean, she didn't have so much to do because New Zealand player running down the wing kind of beat another U.S. player off the ball, just like physically kind of used her body very well to get in a good position and then picked her out in the middle. But she did finish it in the upper right-hand 90 corner, even if she didn't need to. So props for that.
That's second center back getting bodied off the ball. So not a good look. And I thought that some of the struggles in the back line in the Sweden game came from the fact that we don't have very fast center backs. In fact, we didn't have a very fast back line with the exception of Crystal Dunn, but there's only so many times she can save our asses. So, I think maybe the speed of the back line in the US is getting exposed in this tournament, because I think that's partially what just happened. It was speed and strength, and you don't usually see a U.S. women's national team player get bodied off the ball like that, but that's what just happened.
It is 3-1. 3-1. U.S. are still up. They have been dominating, but New Zealand have had maybe 2 or 3 chances in the second half, and they converted one of them. Netherlands, Brazil finished 3-3, so that was a draw there. But that draw right there has got you excited.
Oh yeah, I think that's a pretty big shock for the whole soccer world. I'm very curious if people in the comments have something to say about that. But I picked Brazil as a very dark horse, as like this could be a huge upset, and I think a 3-3 tie to the Netherlands, who just beat Zambia 10-3. It's a big upset. But I will say about the Netherlands, we saw them letting in a lot of goals early on in their friendlies leading up to this tournament, and they let in 3 against Zambia, and they've let in 3 against Brazil. So potential weak spot there.
Potential weak spot. Sauerbrunn, she did start, right? We're talking about her in the back.
Becky Sauerbrunn has not been in this game. Abby Dahlkemper and Tierna Davidson started in the back. So essentially Tierna Davidson started over Sauerbrunn this game.
Thank you.
Sauerbrunn hasn't been in. I don't remember if I think she was rostered for this game, so she's still available, but she has not been in.
Hey, Netherlands have conceded 3 each game, but well, I guess in the first game it worked because they scored 10. In the second game, they also scored 3, so they only got a point from it. But if you're that offensively minded, then you can afford to give up a couple goals until you play some of these great teams like a Brazil, who's going to take a point off you, or in the elimination rounds when that might come back to bite you if you're giving up 1 or 2 easy goals.
Exactly. I think that's what's fun to watch about group stage. Oh, and I think we missed a sub. Alex Morgan came in for Carly Lloyd. So we're getting Alex Morgan up top right now.
They'll be hunting for one more goal. I think the U.S. is still here to make a statement, and they've looked good. They've dominated the game, but they haven't looked great, amazing, I'd say. And I'm sure that's what Vlatko is urging them to do, and that's what the team wants to do, is put in another goal and take back possession and take back ownership of this game with about 15 minutes left to play.
Yeah, as people keep saying in the comments, goal differential is going to be important if we end up tying Sweden, which I guess it looks kind of low that we would actually tie them on points. But if we do, I think we have an easier chance of scoring goals against New Zealand now versus Australia in a couple days.
Absolutely. If you're gonna look at goal differential, this is the game. Good news for us is that Australia beat New Zealand 2-1, so still a better scoreline. But yeah, I think this is the game for goal differential, and then this is the game to also kind of get your feet back under you. Like if you're the U.S., like you guys just said, like you want to make a statement, and 3-1's it's a small statement.
It's true. It would be a small statement. I pulled up the table for a sec. You can see Sweden on top of Group G after their 2 wins. This isn't the live table, so obviously if the U.S. hold on here, they'd be bumped up to 3 points. And if the score stayed the same, they would be level with Australia on goal difference. So that'll be an exciting third game regardless, because it will have some implications on who takes that second spot.
Absolutely. Assuming that the U.S. still comes out on top here. Ooh.
A chance for Lindsey Horan.
You love to see it.
We'll get to Vlatko. Curious to hear your thoughts, Sarah, in a sec. Jonah does have our back on the subs, and all of you, all of our lovely FOFs, people that have joined the stream today, fans of the Women's Soccer Show, you can have our back by following the Women's Soccer Show on Instagram, Twitter. We've got Sarah, one half of the show here, Helen, who has a match right now. Ditched us to play footy, play soccer, which we can never get mad at in Manchester. She is not here, but follow the Women's Soccer Show on their socials and subscribe to the channel. You know, Jim, everybody else that's played a part. We want to keep doing these live streams and keep having people around, having the community join. So subscribe to the Footy Fellas YouTube channel, and we're going to do a lot more fun live streams like this. So that was my quick plug in the 70. It's like the seventh inning stretch in baseball.
Yeah.
It's the 77th minute plug in soccer. That's just how it works.
It was a smooth transition.
Thank you. I really stretched it, but we got there.
So one thing that we actually haven't talked about too much that I'm seeing New Zealand do, obviously it's worked with the so many offsides that have been called this game. Very high back line, and they're actually pretty what's the word? Not organized, but besides organized, they're very
like line of confrontation.
They stay focused. They don't dilly-dally with that line. It's straight in the back, and it's very high. They're very well organized, and they all stay. So I'm bringing this up because it seems like teams maybe are determining to just play a super high line against the U.S. because we love slotting these passes through to the wings, just getting it out wide and then centering the ball as we get closer to the box. So it's just interesting to note. I wonder if Australia will come out with something similar. I'm not sure if Sweden played a really high line, but it seems to, be working. It could be, honestly, it could be 7-1. So 3-1 is a huge boost for New Zealand.
It's a really good point. They're definitely forcing the U.S. into some frustrating positions, having scored 3 offside goals like that. That is frustrating in itself for the U.S. And I'm sure people will watch the Sweden game and take away some things that they did well against the U.S. and try to basically play the U.S. like that. Sweden was high pressing them like crazy and playing a high line and just kind of like condensing the field and limiting the space for the U.S. So I think that maybe some teams have found that a high line is something that the U.S. maybe struggles against right now. At the end of the day, when they have their full form under them, it really shouldn't be like you can be forgiven for a couple offsides, but if you're offside 4 or 5 times in a game, you're doing something wrong,
Yeah.
It's a great point, I see. Yeah. just on the shape of how teams will approach the U.S.
Totally.
And if they're like they have been getting physically outplayed sometimes with speed and strength, like you said, Sarah. So that's got a chance here for the U.S. We got a chance,
and
we got to finish.
Golazo! Golazo!
Ooh-wee.
That
I
was
mean,
a
you want to talk
great-
about how valuable Julie Ertz is to this team. Like, that woman is not just a defender. That was a beautiful service.
That was a freaking golazo. The ball, the serve from Ertz, who finds herself out wide, carries the ball from the middle to get out wide, serves it in, and then the touch off the knee, like you work on in practice.
It was
the
a
touch off the knee,
gorgeous controlling touch from
and the
Christen
finish
Press.
from Press. Oh, that was beautiful. Sorry, you'll get there in a sec, Icy. Then you can chime in.
there
your
we
thoughts on the
go.
goal.
Nice. There it is. Press, dude. I knew Press was going to get one.
She's been great. She's been great.
She's been putting away a lot of goals in all of the friendlies leading up to this, so I'm glad she was able to get one.
It's just such a satisfying touch when the ball is coming in and you just like deftly drop it down right in front of you, right in front of your path. Press got subbed on actually halfway through this game. So she came on and immediate impact, scored like 10, 15 minutes after getting subbed on, not wasting any time, not wasting any, tick, as Icy likes to say, game time.
Yeah, that was gorgeous. Can't say enough about how beautiful that touch was. If she doesn't control that correctly, because she has a defender on her, if she doesn't control that correctly, defender's going to jump on that and clear the ball. So it was an absolutely gorgeous touch, and then hitting it on the second touch to the nice bottom corner of the net. I love to see it.
John asking just very quickly how New Zealand scored. It was a little unconventional. I say a little sloppy by the U.S. in the back. It was a missed clearance out of the back, and then that defender then tripped and fell, leaving the New Zealand player tons of space, and then she just crossed it across the box, and it was a good finish at the end of the day. But it was some mistakes that led up to that. So
it's 4-1, as you can see from the ticker across the bottom. It is now 4-1 U.S. over New Zealand. They've dominated most of the game. New Zealand had a couple chances. The U.S. defense has looked a bit suspect sometimes, but overall, good performance so far in the 82nd minute. So we're in the last 10.
One thing that we should mention is now that goal puts us up to second place in the group. So pretty massive goal, because now we're 0 in goal differential, which puts us higher than -1 to Australia.
Good call.
I will shout out. We got a little picture of it. It looks like Katarina Macario and Casey Kruger, formerly known as Casey Short, may potentially be coming in for the last 10 minutes of this game, which is really exciting. It'll be both of their first Olympic appearances. Katarina Macario, obviously the phenom who had to decide between Brazil and the U.S., decided she was going to take her citizenship here with the U.S. and play for the national team. And we are very, very lucky to have her. And this is going to be really, really exciting to get to watch her have her first Olympic appearance. This is also really fun because both of these two women were alternates. And then, so they weren't actually going to get to play. And then when the rosters expanded a few weeks before the tournament, they are now able to be rostered for each game. So 2 players who we wouldn't have gotten to see otherwise. So this is really exciting for them and very exciting for us to get to see.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what do you think? Do you have thoughts on, it looks like, this would be our the 4th and 5th sub of the game. It seems like it's becoming more common to see the 5 subs in soccer. I know they're doing it because of shortened seasons and just a lot of wear and tear on players. They're trying to give them some breaks every so often. Do you like the 5 subs? What are your thoughts? 3 versus 5?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because we are seeing teams use it just more and more. I really like it. I like it for pretty much every reason. There was never a reason why you had to be limited to 3 subs. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of yours to take or not, that if you think your team's going to play better cohesively without changes, or if you don't. 5 subs, everybody still has to be super fit. So I really like it. I like it because it gives teams who have a deep bench, so better teams, it gives them the upper hand, which they kind of should have. If they have such a deep bench, it's what a shame for so many players to be sitting on the bench and not get any time. And what a shame for us as soccer fans to not get to see them. So I'm a big fan, and I think it makes it fun too, just as a fan getting to watch lots of different players. The game kind of gets changed up with different styles. I'm a huge fan. What about you?
No, so it's actually an interesting point that you're bringing in. As you were talking, I was thinking I do like it when it comes to international play, and it's just national teams against other national teams, just because some countries just have a swath of talent, and they're from the US, so they get to play on or they're from whatever countries, they get to play on that team. No one's purchasing players and like hoarding players. So when it comes to international play, I love a lot of subs. Heck, let's even make it more than 5. Why stop there to get these players in? It's fun. When when there's money involved, not saying money's not involved in, but when you're purchasing players on the club level, that's when I see a lot of people talk, I've seen a lot of strategies change when it comes to like your Man Cities, your Man Uniteds, where they buy a lot of players. They just have a lot of money, and they have more so than the other clubs. And so, having a bench that's worth hundreds of millions of euros or dollars, it's a huge advantage. And so if you score, you could just score a couple of goals. You could throw in a whole bunch of defenders and just sit out the game as just being very park the bus. Let's put new defenders in. So it's very interesting when it comes to
that's a really good point. I mean, the WSL, for example, would be a little bit more competitive if Chelsea wasn't able to just buy a bunch of players to put on their bench, and then you've Beth England coming off the bench like every single game. It's hard to compete when you're a smaller like Aston Villa, for example. It's a really interesting point that when money purchasing players or like purchasing power is involved, it kind of does change the game.
Yeah, I've seen some other things float around because there aren't any caps as we're used to in the United States, where teams can only spend a certain amount of money. In Europe and across the world, it's what happened, Eli?
Oh,
one more time for the people, for the culture. We're gonna hit the goal because that was sort of a golazo, and it's Alex Morgan, so everyone loves to see it.
Golazo! Golazo!
Dang, both subs making it. I mean, all these subs are putting in goals. That's huge.
Speaking of just amazing subs coming on, like the U.S. women's national team is one of those teams, even though it's less buying players, and they just have such depth that all of their subs are starting caliber players on their own team, which is huge.
That's something I love about what Vlatko's doing. Like, you've got a bench, use it. And that's what he's really doing. So I'm happy for Alex Morgan. She gets a lot of hate from people saying that she's overrated and she only has her place in this team because of her name and recognition. But she's one of the most dynamic forwards to watch off the ball, and she's just showing it right now.
I mean, she must hold some record for being the highest scoring substitute. I mean, the amount of goals that she puts in per minute played is ridiculous.
Yeah, her and Carly Lloyd both.
Yeah, she's very efficient.
She's so good off the ball. Like you said, Sarah, that's a great call out. Like, she started that move by getting up for a header, just challenging a ball that got played through, and then opens up her body, finds the space so well, and just kind of floats at the back post. The ball gets all the way through, and she, beautiful. And her finishing ability is so strong that that combo is just an ideal forward. If you were creating a forward, you'd say, getting in for challenges, like working, knowing your space, and being great at finishing. And that's Alex Morgan.
I will forever say, I think she does not get enough credit for how smart of a player she is. She's just incredibly dynamic and smart on and off the ball. And I flash back to the 2019 game in the World Cup against Spain, and everybody was just kind of hating on her and saying that she wasn't doing anything, but not at all. The game required her to hold the ball up top, and she kept getting just hit and bodied time after time. And it wasn't pretty, but that's what the game needed, and that's what she did. And she's just a really smart player. So much fun to watch. So much fun to watch off the ball.
And now that it's 5, yeah, go ahead, Ice. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we are all wrong in our predictions. I mean, we could have said that once New Zealand scored, but we didn't even get the U.S. scoring total right as well.
I believe if we had a few people in the comments calling 3-1. So if you're one of the people in the comments calling for 1 for New Zealand,
good shout.
Good shout.
You get a half point. You got one of the teams right. That's like half credit on the test, 50%. Yeah, none of us shouted out 5-1, but now that it is 5-1 and we've got a couple minutes, we're nearing injury time. We just hit the 90th minute of the U.S.-New Zealand game. The U.S. are up 5-1. How would you say the U.S. did to quell people's fear, their frustration after the first game? Do you think this was the game they needed? Did they do enough? Did they do more than enough? How would you rate them after this performance?
I think that they did enough. They definitely did not do more than enough. But I think that they did enough. And I think that all people really needed to see was that they were able to put a lot of goals away. I think, frankly, the back line might still be in question, which I really don't. I hate to say, because I don't like the narrative that the back line is like the weak spot in the team, but I think that their speed is in question for me. But yeah, I think that the U.S. did enough to quell everybody's anxiety. But I think that, we were talking about the larger picture about how everything's getting a little bit more competitive right now. I think that's just kind of what everybody's sitting with is like, yeah, we could very well still win this tournament, but it's going to be a little harder. Everybody thought that it might be a bit of a walk in the park, and it's definitely not going to be.
It's a great take.
Yeah. I think they did. They did just enough. I think 5-1 against New Zealand's a good result. I think a lot of people have been saying in the chat that New Zealand's a fairly weak team. Nothing to discredit them, but they may have not played together so much, or they're not the strongest team. So 5-1's good. It would have been nice if it were 9-1, 10-1, like it maybe could have been without all these offsides. I think that would have been an exclamation mark, which is kind of what we needed. But this will be good. I think it gives you enough momentum to go into the game against Australia, which we need a win. So that there's no ifs, ands, or buts around that. I think this one has exposed we were a bit sloppy at times in the final third and in the midfield. I saw a bunch of errant passes. Clean that up a little bit, which tidy up the passes, get a little more focus in the mid, and keep it nice and tidy. And that'd be huge against Australia.
Totally
Let's bring
agree.
up some of the comments. Some of the comments real quick. Sorry about that. We'll look at the goal difference in a sec. We'll look at the bracket. Did I just miss another one? Oh man.
I'm trying to not react, but I just give in to
All
it.
right,
I saw the chat go up and then Sarah's reaction. I didn't know if it was a goal or if it was a crossbar or something.
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough sixth goal to score.
Yeah, beautiful ball in from Sam Mewis. Christen Press makes a really great run. Tries to one-time it. Not sure what she was going for. Really difficult angle trying to one-time it with her body falling away. That was not going in, but it comes and it hits a New Zealand defender and goes in.
Hey, whoa.
Let's pop up some of these comments because the game is nearing its end and the final whistle has just been blown. The U.S. win 6-1 over New Zealand in a game that they dominated. We were just talking, they dominated. Let's bring up what some other folks thought on the stream. We'll get to goal difference. We'll get to the bracket. But Joe, good comment. We were talking about earlier, every year is a bit harder. And it is because teams just get better and better. It's not that the U.S. have gotten worse as much, I don't think.
No.
And Jim, kind of in response to that, / just makes sense on its own. They're still ranked number one in the world. So expectations are so high, which is true. It is always going to be the U.S. women's national team expected to win pretty much every tournament they're a part of. So that's a lot of pressure.
Absolutely.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah. Just very quickly on that last goal, since I'm so late to it, it was, I'm curious why there wasn't more looking at offsides. That one actually looked to be offsides, but hey, they gave it to us. We got 2 own goals in this game, which is something I think own goals are fine as long as you create those chances, and we created a bunch of chances, and it just deflected off New Zealand players and went in. So 6-1, that's solid. Also love the shout from Jim with Sam Kerr. Wow, I forgot Sam Kerr was Australian.
Oh, how do you forget about Sam Kerr?
Oh,
Sammy Kerr's my girl.
I love Sam Kerr.
Oh,
so.
she's so fun to watch. It's gonna be such a fun game on Tuesday, I think it is. So
Yeah, not Tuesday.
No. Sunday, Wednesday. Well,
We'll need to check
why can't
the
I
next
do math?
game.
It's in 3 days.
It's in 3 games, and it's at like 4:30 a.m. So
yeah.
someone asked earlier if this is the not the final goal scoring tally. I'm trying to refresh the page. It's taking a sec. But just taking a look at the goal scorers, it is 6-1 now that the game finished. So that'll refresh in 1 second. Oh, not yet. But someone asked earlier, I think David, whether we were going to do more live streams for the Olympics. We definitely want to. And we definitely want to have Sarah here, even Helen from the Women's Soccer Show. So we'll need to figure out. We won't be doing the next group stage game because it's at 4:30 in the morning. So you get us even more tired and more groggy, which you don't want.
We will be up and tweeting though, but so if you feel like following along, at least Helen will be available, and potentially me will be up and tweeting through the WOSO show.
That is a great plug on the bottom right-hand corner. Follow the WOSO show on Twitter because they will give you everything you need to know about the matchup. Oh, we got to add here. Sorry. Well, I'll stop streaming for a stop sharing that screen for a sec. But we will try and stream a game later on in the tournament, maybe even the finals. So we'll see if the U.S. makes it there, if we have 2 new teams to talk about, or one of the other games. So if you subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on social, you'll be the first to know when we're doing the next stream. You can come and join, and we'll get folks from all around the world again, which is so much fun. So definitely do that because we definitely want to do this again.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody who joined. This has been a blast. Thanks for everybody who's joined and also those who were commenting a lot. Really appreciate it. Super fun to just hear where everybody's from and everybody's different takes. We're all soccer fans, and it's just fun to talk about. Definitely.
Yeah, it's been a blast today. Fun watching the game. 6-1, big result. Look forward to 3 days from now.
Great way to start the day. We can finish off with some predictions against Australia. What I'll do is I'll pull up the groups one more time. Let me see if it's updated. That would be very nice. ESPN. Aha, they're right on it. Just the internet, just amazing, so quick. Let me share this. We can look at the bracket, look at the table, and predict the next game for the U.S.
All right.
So the U.S. are now in second on goal differential. Like you mentioned, I see those extra goals late when they were up 3-1 and they were still pushing for more goals. That was huge because now they're in second. So even a tie against Australia would put them through in second.
Mm.
Yeah, big result on the goal differential. I think that's what we needed for sure. I'll go quick prediction for next game. I think it's going to be a tough one. Sam Kerr's really good. Our back line's looking a little iffy, so I think Australia could get 1-2 win. I'm going to say maybe a 4-2, maybe a little mirror of the Sweden-Australia matchup. So
I like it.
4-2.
Sarah?
I think I'm going to go I really like that prediction. I'm going to choose something different though. You know what? I'm gonna go big. I'm gonna go 5-2. I think it's gonna be a lot of goals. Sometimes Australia likes to come out with a 3-back. I don't think that they would be dumb enough to do that against the US, but I'm gonna go for it. US just put a lot away. I think they're gonna be feeling good. Australia's a high-scoring team. I'm going 5-2.
Nice.
A lot to think about. I think they would get punished if they came out with 3 in the back against the U.S. with how strong we are in the wings. Man, I like both of your predictions. So, Sarah, you say 5-1. 5-2?
5-2. I'm going 5-2.
And Icy, you said
4-2.
4-2. So, if I was doing one of those SAT type questions, I'd be responsible for 3-2, but or 6-2, depending on what the order they were in. But I don't think they'll get 2 past the US. I'm going to go 4-1.
I like it.
I think it's 4-1. I think the US do pour in a lot of goals. Their first game behind them against a strong Sweden team. I think they will score a bunch with this talented roster they have right here and showed it today with a bunch of goals. So I'm confident they'll put some in. And I think Kerr will score, maybe a PK. maybe something like that. But I think it'll be like 4-1.
Heck yeah.
All right.
All
So we all-
dubs.
I
we all
like it.
agree. Yeah.
We somebody has that recorded, right? For Tuesday?
Definitely recorded. You can tweet at us while we're wrong. Get
Okay.
mad.
Lovely. All right.
But yeah, thanks so much everybody for joining. Appreciate it. There's still 37 strong in here. People from all over the world. Shout out to Indonesia. Joe in
Wow, I
Indonesia.
love it.
That's another
Love that.
marker on our world map.
We're bringing a world map next time. We absolutely have to do that. We also, last time we did a stream, we talked about doing a bingo card where we need to come up with some fun, squares, a customized bingo card. But as the game goes on, we can kind of fill it out collectively as a group. And maybe if we hit bingo, someone wins a prize. I don't know what the prize is, but maybe we do a bingo with a prize.
I love it.
Yeah, that could be fun.
I love it. That's a great idea.
Shout out to Ireland. Yeah, if we do that with you next time, you're responsible for half the squares, Sarah. So
Okay.
we all got to get creative.
Deal. I'm in. I think that could be
All
a fun one.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing this. We'll do a proper send off with all three of us. Sorry, just figuring out the setup here.
Oh, the coif in the morning. The cowlick is a bit wild.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We are sorry to be leaving you, but we're excited for at least folks in the US and still in Europe to start their days, enjoy the rest of their Saturdays, their weekends. We are Footy Fellas, the women's soccer show. Sarah repping strong. So much fun. We'll be back.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
All right.
Anytime.
We'll be back sometime this tournament.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks, guys.